The sky burned red. Tiny alien girl Nira hid under a broken metal crate. Her small body shook with fear. Her ship, the Zivalon Star, was destroyed. Pieces of it fell from the sky like fire. Her people were gone. The attack had come fast. Number. Warning. No chance to run. Smoke filled the air. Sparks crackled around her. She held her breath as heavy boots thudded across the cracked ground. Not alien boots. Not from her people. These were louder, stronger. Human. Nira pressed her tiny hand over her mouth to stay silent. Humans were monsters. That's what they taught her since she was born. They kill. They burn. They take. If one finds you, don't scream, because no one will hear you again. But she couldn't run. Her leg was hurt. Something sharp had cut deep into it during the crash. Her blood left a trail, and she knew the human could follow it. The sound of footsteps stopped. A shadow moved in front of her hiding place. A tall figure stood in the dust. Nira looked up from the crate's crack. It was a human. Tall, armored chest, thick boots, a weapon on his side. His face was rough, with scars. His eyes looked cold. He turned his head slightly. She froze. Had he seen her? He didn't speak, didn't move. Then slowly, he reached down and placed something on the ground. It was a bottle of water. He stepped back, still silent, then turned and walked away. No words, no threat. Nira stared at the bottle. Her throat was dry. She hadn't drunk anything in hours. Maybe more. But was it a trick? Minutes passed. She waited. Nothing. The human didn't return. Finally, she reached out, grabbed the bottle, and pulled it close. It wasn't poisoned. She drank fast, then coughed. The water was real. Why? Why would a human help her? The next day, Nira woke up coughing. Her hiding place had filled with smoke again. She had no choice now. Her leg was worse. She couldn't stay. She crawled out from under the crate. The world around her was broken. The stars above her looked cold. Her ship was nothing but black metal bones. No other survivors. She limped forward, trying to find shelter. She had no weapon, no food. Suddenly, she heard something. Not footsteps this time, but soft humming. She followed the sound. At the edge of the crash site, a human was there again. He sat by a fire, humming quietly. He cooked something in a metal pot. When he saw her, he didn't jump, didn't point a weapon. He only gave a small nod. Nira stopped, unsure. The human stood up and walked over to her, but slow, careful. He didn't reach for her. Instead, he crouched down and pointed to her leg. She flinched, but then he opened a small kit. Medicine, bandages. He waited. Let her choose? She didn't understand his words, but she understood his eyes. After a long pause, she nodded. The human gently cleaned her wound and wrapped it. His hands were big, rough but gentle. Nira watched his face. No anger, no hate, just focus, care. That night, she sat beside his fire. Still quiet, still afraid, but warmer. And alive. He gave her food, a small cube. Strange taste, but her stomach thanked her. They didn't speak the same language. But sometimes they didn't need to. He pointed to himself. Darren, he said. She pointed to her chest. Nira. He smiled. Nira didn't smile back, but her eyes softened. As she lay beside the fire, watching the stars above, she whispered to herself in her own language. I thought it was the end. She looked at Darren, now asleep with his weapon beside him. But maybe. The monster isn't the human. She closed her eyes and slept without fear, for the first time since the attack. Asterisk, the scream wasn't hers. Nira's eyes snapped open. The fire was out. Darkness surrounded her. But someone had screamed in the distant sharp painful, full of fear. Not alien. Not her kind. She turned her head. Darren was already awake. He stood, holding his weapon tight, eyes fixed on the shadows beyond the rocks. His body didn't move, but his muscles were ready, like a predator waiting. Another scream echoed. Then silence. Nira sat up slowly, heart beating fast. The silence was worse than the scream. What was that? She whispered in her own tongue. But Darren didn't understand her words. He only looked at her, then held a finger to his lips quiet. They waited. Nothing moved. Then he pointed toward a small hill and whispered just one word. Shelter. He helped her up, gently supporting her injured leg. She didn't resist. She didn't trust him fully, but she feared the unknown screen even more. The shelter was small, a cave, hidden by thick roots and fallen metal. Darren lit a soft lamp. Inside, it was cool and quiet. Nira sat down, her breathing shaky. He gave her water again. She drank. Then Darren placed a small silver device in front of her. A translator. She had seen one before on her father's ship, but never used one with a human. He turned it on. Safe now, it said in a flat, robotic voice, copying Darren's words. Nira stared at him. Why help me? She asked quietly. The device buzzed, translated. Darren looked at her and said, Because you're not my enemy. She blinked. She didn't expect that answer. Later, as the wind howled outside, Nira curled up in the corner of the cave. Her eyes stayed on Darren. He sat by the entrance, weapon across his lap, eyes open, guarding her. But why? She had been told humans were cruel, that they destroyed weaker races, that they laughed as they conquered. But this one, he gave her food, water, safety, and didn't ask for anything back. That night, a memory came to her. She was 5 cycles old. Her mother had told her stories of the old stars, when aliens feared humans so much they made laws to never speak to them. Her mother's voice was full of fear. They wear smiles, her mother said, but inside they are wolves. Now, in the flickering light of this small shelter, Nira wondered, had they lied to her, or had they been wrong? The next morning, Darren stepped out of the cave to search for supplies. Nira stayed behind. Her leg was healing slowly. She looked at the translator. Again, she pressed the small red button. Why aren't you afraid of me? She asked, practicing her words for when he came back. When he returned an hour later, carrying dried plants and old tech pieces, she waited. And when he sat down, she asked out loud, Why aren't you afraid of me? The translator buzzed. Darren paused. Then he answered, softly, Because I see someone who needs help, not a monster. She didn't say anything, but that night, when the fire crackled again, and she sat beside him, she smiled, just a little. The growl came from the dark. Not human, not alien. Something wild. Darren stood fast, weapon ready. Nira froze behind him. The sound was deep, full of hunger. Red eyes flashed between the trees. 1, 2, 3 sets. Beasts. Star wolves. She had only heard about them in stories. Monsters that hunted in silence until it was too late. Now they were real. And they were here. The first beast leapt. Darren fired once. Missed. The creature knocked him to the ground. Nira screamed. But Darren didn't stay down. With a roar of his own, he slammed his weapon into the beast's side, rolled, and stabbed it in the neck with his knife. Blood sprayed. The creature twitched and died. The second beast charged. This time, Nira grabbed a sharp rock. Her leg still weak, she dragged herself forward and threw it, hitting the beast's eye. Just enough to distract it. Darren turned and fired. The second beast dropped. 1 left. It circled them, growling. Waiting. Then it ran off into the trees. Silence. Not only their breathing filled the night. Darren was bleeding. Not badly, but enough to worry her. He sat down, wiped his blade clean, and gave her a look not angry. Grateful. You helped, he said through the translator. She nodded, still shaking. Why? He asked. She looked down at her hands. Because. You would have done the same. He smiled. Later, they built a bigger fire. It wasn't just for warmth. It was a message. One that said, we are alive. We will fight. Nira sat beside him, watching. The flames danced. She thought of the old stories. The warnings. The fear. But tonight, the fire didn't scare her. The human didn't scare her. Only the silence did. She turned to him and asked, have you lost people? Darren was quiet for a long time. Then he said, everyone. She understood that pain. She lost everyone too. And in that quiet moment, with the fire burning right between them, something changed. Not trust. Not yet, but something like it. Asterisk, asterisk. The voice crackled through the old device. Nira's hands shook as she held the communicator close to her ear. It had survived the crash. She had found it under a pile of metal while searching for clean clothes near the wreck. The signal was weak, but the message was clear. To all survivors of the Zeppelin fleet, if you find a human, report and eliminate. They are enemies. They are dangerous. Do not trust them. Her heart dropped. She looked over her shoulder. Darren was humming quietly as he sharpened a stick. Sitting near the fire, turning it into a spear. He looked peaceful, calm, but the voice in her ear said monster. Report and eliminate. The words played again and again in her head. She turned off the communicator and hid it under a stone. He saw her wiping her face and tilted his head. You okay? He asked. She nodded. She lied. That night, Darren showed her how to use the spear. He placed it in her hands, guided her arms, adjusted her grip. His hands were warm, steady. You'll need to know this, he said, just in case I'm not around. She looked at him sharply. Why wouldn't you be around? He gave a half smile. Things happen. She didn't like that answer. As the fire burned low, smoke rising into the cold night air. Nira stared into the flames. She remembered her teacher's words long ago. Humans destroy. They pretend to be kind, but when you need them most, they will turn. But here now, Darren hadn't turned. He gave her food. He treated her wounds. He watched over her while she slept. He hadn't hurt her even once. Then why? Why would her people tell her to kill him? Was he the liar? Or were they? She didn't sleep that night. The communicator's warning echoed again and again. She had a choice now. One path led back to her people. Their safety, their approval. The other, toward this strange, quiet human who never asked for anything, but gave everything. She looked over at Darren as he slept beside the dying fire. If you're a monster, she whispered, then what does that make me for thinking about betraying you? Tears rolled down her cheek. And the smoke carried them upward into the stars. The voice that called her name wasn't human. Nira froze behind the rocks, her heart racing. Nira of Zevalan. Respond. The voice echoed through the valley calm. Cold and very familiar. It was Commander Threx. Her people had found her. She should have been happy, but she wasn't, because Darren was standing just a few meters behind her, his spear in hand, watching the sky with suspicion. He didn't understand the voice, but she did, and it wasn't just a rescue call. It was a hunt. They arrived in sleek black armor, 3 alien soldiers with helmets that shimmered under the sun. Their weapons were drawn. They scanned the ground, sniffing for heat, tracking signals. Scan shows one life form nearby, one said. Not human. Then where is the human? Threx asked. She wouldn't have survived without help. Nira stepped forward, hands shaking. "I'm alone," she said in her native tongue. They looked at her, suspicious. "You're injured," Threx said. "Who healed you?" "I did it myself," she lied. They didn't believe her, but didn't act yet. "We're setting up camp. In the morning, we'll sweep the valley. If a human is here, we'll find him, and we'll end him." Nira nodded. "Understood." But her stomach twisted. That night, Darren didn't speak. He saw the soldiers from afar. He had hidden well. Too well. Nira found him near the stream, staring at the stars. "They're hunting you," she said. He looked at her carefully. "And what about you? Are you hunting me too?" She didn't answer right away. Then, softly, "No, not anymore." They sat by the water for a long time. No words were spoken. Then Darren said, "I never thought an alien would care if I lived or died." Nira replied, "I never thought a human would make me question everything I was taught." Above them, the sky was wide and full of stars. Beautiful. But full of lies. Asterisk. The trap was hidden in the roots. Nir saw it by accident, just before Darren stepped forward. "Wait!" She screamed. He froze mid-step. She rushed over and pushed aside the dirt. A small black device blinked beneath the surface, smooth, silent. Deadly. It was a plasma mine, and it was made by her people. Darren knelt beside her. "What is it?" "Death," she said, voice trembling. He looked at her. "Meant for me?" She didn't answer. Her silence spoke enough. Hours earlier, Commander Threx had spoken to her alone. "You were seen, Nira," he said. "You walk with the human, eat with him, sit beside him. This is not survival. This is betrayal." "I owe him my life," she had replied. Threx had leaned close. "Then watch him die, and live with it." She didn't agree. She didn't refuse. She just stayed quiet. But now, as she stared at the mine meant for Darren, something inside her snapped. Enough silence. Enough lies. "We have to go," she said. "Now." But it was too late. From the ridge above, the soldiers opened fire. Darren shielded her with his body as plasma bolts hit the rocks around them. He dragged her into the trees, holding her close as the blasts followed. Explosions rang out. Fire lit the forest. Behind them, the camp burned. They collapsed near the river, gasping for air. Nira looked at Darren. His arm was bleeding, his eyes tired but alive. "You saved me," he whispered, surprised. She nodded. "Because you would have done the same." That night, she returned to the ridge alone. She found Threx's broken transmitter, and into the wind. She spoke clearly. "You tried to kill someone who showed me kindness. You told me humans are monsters. But the only monster I saw today was you." She dropped the device into the river. And walked back to the only person who never asked her to choose sides, just to choose what was right. Asterisk. She walked into the council chamber with blood on her hands. His blood. Darren lay behind her on a hover stretcher, unconscious, wrapped in cloth and pain. Nira's small figure looked weak, but her voice shook the walls. "I will speak." The alien guard stepped forward. "You are not a voice of command." "I don't need to be," she said. "I'm a voice of truth." The council members stared down from their seats above. Cold eyes. Unmoved hearts. They had already made their decision. The human was dangerous. He would be erased. But Nira stepped forward again. Her voice didn't tremble. "You told us humans were monsters, that they burn planets, that they cannot love, cannot protect. But everything you told us was wrong." Gasps moved through the room. "He gave me food when I was starving. He guarded me from beasts. He took a knife to the shoulder, saving my life. And when your soldiers set a trap to kill him, he still protected me." One council member stood. He is a human. That is their nature. No, Nira said, eyes glowing now with anger. That is your nature. To judge without knowing, to fear without proof. Behind her, Darren groaned. He was awake now. Barely Nira. He whispered. She turned to him. Her voice softened. I'm here. He tried to sit up, but she placed her hand on his chest. Don't move. I'll do the speaking now. She looked back to the council. You can choose fear again. You can choose hate. Or you can choose to believe that one human saved one alien not with power, but with mercy. Silence. Then one voice broke it. A young council member stood. Let them live. Another followed. Let her speak for both. One by one, the voices changed. Not many, but enough. Later, Darren opened his eyes fully. The pain had faded some. Nira sat beside him, holding a fruit in her hand. She offered it. He smiled weakly. You fought them? She nodded. I stood for you. He laughed softly. Brave girl. No, she said. Just finally free. Outside. The chamber, the stars glowed again. But this time, they didn't look cold. They looked full of hope. Asterisk.